What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Culture 316 podcast. I am one of your hosts and producers, Jordan Nahisi.
And I am your other co-host after, 3-4 months of being gone? It is my first time back.
It only took a whole summer. But she's here.
Mo is back, people.
The last time Mo and I were on camera, I was wearing a hoodie. And if I did that and I walked outside, I would probably die. So she's back. I'm so excited that my friend is back. And Banks will be on with us next week. It'll be all three of us. This is the current Culture 316. It's like the new Bloodline, but better. But anywho, thank you guys so much for joining us. Y'all know the drill.
The khaki line.
If y'all know the drill. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, be sure to give the show a 5 stars. Be sure to subscribe to the show. If you are on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. First things first, Mo, I got to ask you on air, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Because it's really been forever, and I'm just so glad that you're back.
I mean, overall, I feel great. I feel even happier since I've been back, and it's only been literally 1 whole week. And it was so weird, guys, because for the longest, I kind of went through this weird funk where I didn't care for wrestling. If you were talking about it, didn't care to be in the conversation, didn't care to watch it, didn't care if there was a pay-per-view on. If my friends updated me, I'm like, okay, whatever, next. Did not care, but then for some reason, y'all, I had this itch, and it started last week with some tea that started spilling. I think it started with Mercedes and Makaze, and then I saw the whole Britt Baker tea going on with MJF, and then I saw something with Logan Paul. And for some reason, I don't know why, I just saw myself being nosy. I didn't have a Twitter account. I was being nosy, sitting through Twitter, trying to see what y'all was saying, trying to read all the tea was going on. I'm like, yo, this feels like the old days. What are you doing?
It's literally been it's almost like a renaissance in pro wrestling, kind of like how it felt when AEW first came on the air. It was just this new peak interest, and there's a lot going on in the industry.
Yeah.
Right now. But more importantly, from a personal standpoint, I'm just glad I have my friend back. I'm just glad I have my dog back. So I'm happy
to be back too.
I'm so happy you're here. But without further ado, we're gonna get right into it because it seems like the writing is on the wall as it pertains to AEW. One of the OG tag teams that were signed to AEW, the Lucha Brothers, they are expected to leave AEW upon the expiration of their contract, and they are expected to sign with WWE. Now, there was a trademark filed. I believe it was Rey Fuego and King Fuego. That could be their potential new names. No confirmation yet. But I wanted to know how you felt. The Lucha Brothers are WWE bound. How are you surprised? What are your feelings towards this?
I mean, I enjoyed them around the time I actually was watching AEW. Because I actually did not start watching AEW again, y'all, until just this week when I started watching all forms of wrestling. And last time I checked, I liked them. They were a few of the only tag teams I think I actually was able to pay attention to. Because I love their style of wrestling. And I was watching Friday Night SmackDown on my work shift, and I was seeing that great match between Andrade and what's his name? Why is this slipping my brain? Remember who Andrade just went up against?
Carmelo, was it?
No, the Mexicans were going off.
Don't tell them the Mexicans. I don't remember who
in all the best ways. All I was thinking to myself is, yo, this is a great match. I mean, you said Lucha Bros are coming to WWE. I'm like, bring it on, guys. I want to see more matches just like that. That shit went off for 30 minutes. It was great.
Let me see you keep talking. I have to figure out who Andrade faced on SmackDown.
Oh my God. I'm going to forget names here and there, y'all. But, I was watching WWE and I just noticed, wow, the show has definitely changed a lot. When I say I haven't watched in a couple of months, a little bit after.
Santos Escobar.
Yes, there you go. They would all mesh really well. I'm just saying. I know they're a tag team, but I'm saying those styles of wrestling I could see it. They've been great. But the way WWE has been, at least off of what I've seen Monday, Tuesday, and Friday that I watched, I'm happy to see anyone get signed at this point. Because I feel like they know what they're doing. And my interest didn't drop at any given point of watching the show. I didn't feel okay, this is a bathroom break match or whatever. Their booking is on point. The storylines are actually juicy. And this is coming from someone that jumped right in. I had to look through snippets and figure it out and piece it in. But once I got there, I'm like, yo, this is good. I want to know what they'll do with them because I feel like they're also taking tag teams and factions way more seriously. So there's so much to do with them. I I don't know. I'm excited. What about you?
I think that it's about time. I mean, we don't really have to talk about the importance of the Lucha Brothers as it pertains to the tag team division in AEW, right? Like them joining AEW made their tag team division one of the best, if not the best in the world, right? When you take
Mhm.
the Young Bucks, Lucha Brothers, FTR, Top Flight, Private Party, like they formed one of the best tag team divisions in the world. I think that WWE has been on a mission to just create a talent roster that is just significantly deep, right? We hear the signing of Stephanie Vaquer from Mexico. We hear the signing of Julia, and with all of
Is
this kind
Steph
of
that girl with the horns that I saw?
yes,
I don't
yes,
know what she
Stephanie.
did, but she looks really cool.
Yeah. So I mean, and there's another woman from Australia that they just signed named Delta, who is set to be
That's
WWE
a cool
bound.
ass name, first
That's
of
a
all.
cool
Delta.
name. So it's
Delta.
like they are on a mission to create a super deep, talented roster. And then on top of that, Chris, I forgot his name, but he is an executive vice president of WWE. And when they were asked about potentially doing an AEW supercard, he said, "We don't have interest in creating a supercard. We do have
Oh, she
interest in
looks like a
signing
lunatic.
we
I'm
we
sorry, I'm
do
looking at her right
you're good.
now.
He said that they don't have interest in doing a supercar, but they do have interest in signing talents outside of WWE, which means they're open for business. They're in the business of creating one of the deepest rosters in wrestling, if not the deepest roster in wrestling. And I feel like it's only going to pick up as we go further and further into this year. As it pertains to the fit of the Lucha Brothers, I mean, you can make the argument that the Lucha Brothers joining any division of W or any show in WWE would automatically put that tag team division on notice and probably anchors that tag team division, right? We all know that Triple H is someone who respects and admires tag team wrestling. And we know that if they were to go to WWE, I think that Triple H won't do wrong by them at all. So I'm very, very eager to see where they end up. Do you think that they would be on NXT? Do you think that they would end up going to the main roster? What do you think if the Lucha Brothers were to sign to WWE today? Where do you think that they would go first? Is it an NXT? Is it a Raw? Or is it a SmackDown?
um, Trying to think about what I watched on Monday and Friday. I feel like main roster, um, because they put on such good matches. I feel like, um, and then they don't really need any polishing. I mean, they could definitely like help people in NXT, but they got so much going on in NXT. I feel like putting them there might be a little bit of clutter. But I could see them being maybe introduced on a Monday night, and then them working around there to make the tag team division a little more interesting, even though they're already doing a good job. Me personally, um, yeah, because like I don't know, like I feel like they could put on some classics. I could definitely see like them going off on pay-per-views and on WrestleManias and whatnot. So why put them through the development process when to me like they've been around long enough where you could just stick them in, they're gonna know what to do. They're gonna get the format. Do you think they need help with any formatting? Why do I not hear you? Are you muted, sir? It looks like you're muted.
I definitely was muted. My bad. No, I was also doing the research while we were talking because I wanted to know the not know, but I had to be refreshed on some of the tag teams that were in WWE because we need to know what they were going up against. Okay. Oh, I'm excited. All right. So we got
What
the
does
Good
Raw got?
Brothers. We got the Good Brothers. We have
Okay.
the Judgment Day. We have
Yeah.
LWO. We
Hmm.
have the New Day technically still. We have New Catch Republic. We have the OC. We have OTM. Technically, we still have the Pride. We have uh RKO with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. Technically, still we have the Street Profits. We have the Tongans,
Did
also
you just
known as
say pause? Randy Orton and Kevin Owens are
they are
RK.
tag team.
That is so fire. Whoever did that, just even just for the namesake, that is fire.
It's fire. They have
What?
they have who else do they have? Technically, still the Viking Raiders. They
That
have
just made my
God.
day.
They have God. They have the new Wyatt Six. Let's go back up to the top of the list. They have DIY. They have the Creed brothers. Imagine DIY versus the Lucha Brothers. That would be nuts. They have
Yeah.
Chase University. Technically, you still have the Awesome Truth. You have Authors of Pain. You have American Made. You have A Town Down Under. So the WWE definitely has its list of tag teams that the Lucha
That's a
Brothers
lot.
can go up against. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I feel like because of this, there's so many possibilities, and it's going to be interesting to see how they debut them, how they roll them out. But I personally think that it's going to be great whenever they decide to show up. But let us know how you guys feel. The Lucha Brothers are expected to leave AEW and sign to WWE, but we are going to get right into the next topic, because if we're talking about people that are making an impact right now, I think there is no one in professional wrestling that is making as big of an impact upon his return than Roman Reigns. He returned last week to WWE SummerSlam in Cleveland, Ohio, to 57,000 fans, helping Cody Rhodes retain the WWE Undisputed Championship by spearing and Superman punching his younger cousin, Solo Sikoa, making it very, very clear that he is the original tribal chief. Upon his return got about 100 million video views across all social media platforms. He sold about $800,000 worth of merchandise in less than 2 hours. He sold out of his signature commemorative belt, which there were only 1,316 copies of. One of those belts would be $600. They all sold out within an hour.
Oh
And
my
then
god.
his SmackDown return in Tulsa, Oklahoma, after his return to WWE, immediately sold out. So let it's safe to say that that needle mover nickname is not a gimmick. It's the real thing. I wanted to know how you felt about the return of the original tribal chief, Roman Reigns.
Oh, it was fantastic. I I mean, I know I was gone, and so I probably didn't have the same feelings that everyone else had because, of course, upon Roman losing the belt from Cody, he had like, a division of the fan base where you had people that were Cody stands or Roman stands or whatnot, and then you have this funky behind extension storyline with
Mm-hmm.
Sol Sokoa that put him automatically in a terrible position to be hated. Just because you're not Roman, you'll never be Roman. You can't replicate that. Like you just can't. He's a staple. Like he
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel like a staple from the first couple of years of his career so much when he was solo, but now he feels like a staple to the company, and like he gave us one of the greatest storylines of all time. So I can't fully feel what everyone else was feeling, but I mean, I got the feeling through the television while I was watching back SummerSlam, and he showed up. I thought it was great. I thought um, that's the only way you probably could, or the only time you had to try to give him a shift between being a heel to a babyface. That's the only time to execute it. If you didn't do it then, it was not happening at all. But it kind of needs to happen because at that point, where else do you go from here? you know. And I don't see him being a babyface for long. I don't. I just see him doing it long enough to where he gets his throne back because he is the original tribal chief. I don't think he actually likes Cody. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to run things back at some point in
Mm-hmm.
life and that this is all just like a ploy because I still don't trust Roman. I really don't. I can't unsee the heel that I've been witnessing since the pandemic. I'm sorry. I can't. But I do think it was a very interesting return, and it was what I also found interesting was that I was on Twitter and I saw a tweet that raised hell. Oh my god! Someone compared Roman to John Cena, and the Cena Nation was not happy. They said that this was a bigger return than anything that John Cena has ever pulled. And I had to think about it for a second. I was like, well, did John Cena ever pull those numbers in one day? If that's the case, the tweet's not wrong. It was offensive to me, but I'm like, it's not wrong. It has to have been probably the top three best returns. And he wasn't gone for long.
He wasn't.
Which goes to show you, like, I actually might think to me that I heard a bigger pop than when Punk came back. It was a shocker. Because it was a shocker, but I don't think like merch flew off the table like the way it just did for Roman. Like people were just waiting for him to come back in a different way, and I think that's impressive that in a small amount of time being gone, you could get that pop.
Yeah.
Because Roman has made a lot of comebacks, but like to leave for as long as I've been gone and come back to that reaction, I mean that goes to show you how much like work they put into making him the guy that he is now. Because he was nowhere not like this in the previous years. I would never have thought prior to 2020 that Roman could even could be held to the standard, but this is where he is in his life and his career. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this. I'm going to pass it over to you, Jordan. What do you think about Roman's return? And is the
So
biggest return of all time?
I think it's the biggest return. It may rival Punk's return to AEW, but what I will
Yes.
say is this: as it pertains to the numbers, this may be the biggest return in wrestling in the past 25 years. I think since the start
Ooh.
of the millennium, because the when I
You might
thought
piss
about,
someone off, Jordan, with that.
I think so, and I'll tell you why. The
Yeah.
bigger the villain, the better the hero. They took an old formula that worked for The Rock and that worked for Stone Cold, and they did it with Roman Reigns. Right
Mhm.
before The Rock became this monster baby face, he was a monster heel. Nation of Domination, Intercontinental Champion, then joined Vince McMahon in the ministry and became this corporate sellout. He became a big villain, and then that led him to become a bigger face. Stone Cold Steve Austin, when he cut that Austin 316 promo, he was not a baby face. He was a heel. He was a remorse. He had no remorse. He had no sense of decorum. And when he became a face, he became a revered face. They took that concept, that formula, and they applied it to Roman Reigns. The difference was Roman's build to where he is now is 4 years in the making. And to be completely honest, while I think that we still have some legs left on this bloodline storyline, if it ended today, they have accomplished their goal. Because the
Yeah.
reality is that Roman Reigns is now a bigger face than he ever was in his entire career. And that's what Vince McMahon was trying to do. Vince was trying to get Roman as the face that we see him at now. He was not that face. Now he is the undisputed face, and he's in a and he's the face in a way that he is true to himself still as the tribal chief. He carries those heel elements with him, and he does it in a way where the people are over, like the people are with him. Like when he was about to hit that spear at SummerSlam and he did the ooh ah, you can feel the stadium shake on the other side of the screen. And I think that that was the objective. They wanted to put Roman Reigns in a position where he was the legit face, the baby face, and the face of the company. And they've been able to do that. I still think we have some ways to go, but I think that if the bloodline storyline ended today, WWE accomplished their goal. As it pertains to the numbers, this is nuts. And this only solidifies what Roman has been saying as the gimmick. He's like, I'm not a main eventer. I'm the main event. I'm not a guy. I'm the guy. And everyone else is second. I think that these numbers are the numbers of a tried and true top guy. Period. And we have to consider I don't care who's in what company. I think Roman Reigns is the best wrestler in the world right now. I think that he is the one that tells the most stories. I think he's the biggest attraction. I think that he is doing what you need to be doing as a top guy of a professional wrestling company, and that is bringing people in. So I think that Roman Reigns is who he says he is. He is him. He is the OG tribal chief. I'm curious to know what y'all think about Roman Reigns. Leave y'all comments below, but we're going to be moving on. So, Roman Reigns was only one of the face turns that happened during the SummerSlam and shows after SummerSlam, right? We had the the double the mega heel turn of Dominic Mysterio, right? And then we saw an official heel turn for Rhea Ripley, an official face turn for Rhea Ripley, an official face turn for Damian Priest. So I want to know how you felt about these face turns. Were they necessary? How do you feel about this Judgment Day implosion?
Um, I would never have thought that this faction would have been as interesting when they first came out as they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everyone is eating up the whole Dom Liv Rhea triangle thing. They're making comparisons to like Lita and Edge, which I think is a little far fetched. Okay, my girl was authentically a can't say that word on here, but she was an authentic one. Okay,
Hmm.
In this instance, though, because my girl wrecked two homes. Let's be honest. Like Lita literally ruined two homes. But as it pertains to Dom, Rhea, and Liv, it's such good shit. It's fantastic. It actually made you feel bad for Rhea because yes, she was being abusive towards Dom, but as she put it, she made him into a man. And it's like, it's interesting because yes, it's a wrestling storyline and it is an exaggeration, but I feel like a lot of men could probably relate to this and
Mm-hmm.
see why he went for a Liv. You know, like Rhea is that girl, but I don't want to say that Dom had full on Stockholm syndrome. It was clear he definitely did love Rhea, but he never got to know what it felt like to be on top and have a woman submit like Liv. Like what about the most craziest way possible, but he got to finally feel like he wears the pants in this relationship. And of course, you can't turn down this gorgeous looking blonde that's been tempting you, poking the stick. You know, I'm not saying every guy goes through this experience, but you know, it's interesting how I feel like it plays on your psyche.
Yeah.
You could definitely see why it was like a tug of war on like, do I stick with what I know because she's the reason why who I am who I am, or do I like try to turn over a new leaf and try it with this one? It was interesting because it made me even confused as a viewer because I'm like I kind of like him and Liv because they go together and they're kind of cute, but at
Yeah.
the same time I like I like the dynamic he had with Rhea. And do I really think Rhea deserved it, even if she was tough on Dom? And it has the whole internet arguing, like tooth and nail arguing with the Rhea stands and the Liv fans. So it's similar to Roman. While I love seeing her as a heel because she's really good at her role, there was really no other time to also make it work with her being a babyface, unless you pulled something like this. So I think it came out fantastic. I like the fact that she still has Damian Priest to lean on with this, but this whole implosion I think is a nice slow burn. I'm very much interested to seeing how they're going to book this, going into like Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, because there's so much time and so much you could do with this. My question is, what exactly?
Hmm.
What do you think that they would? Where do you think they're going to angle all this?
I think this is all leading to bad blood in Atlanta in October. I don't think this is a WrestleMania build. I
It's
think that this
not.
is. I don't think so. I feel like
With how much
we're.
money this is making, any attention? No,
I don't think so. I feel like something is going to be even bigger for Mania. I'm going to keep that to myself for now. I think
that's
that this
fair.
is all leading to bad blood because the way that this is shaping out, I feel like we're going to get an implosion of a lot of personal feuds in October or some type of turning point in those personal feuds. And it's either going to be the end of a personal feud or it's going to lead towards Survivor Series War Games.
Mm.
That's how I feel about the turns. But I'm going to talk about the Dominic Mysterio heel turn. Here's the reason why it's so interesting. And I thought it was actually a genius move. Dominic Mysterio became what he hated. He became the oppressor. Because in this entire situation, right, we saw, like you said, Rhea kind of abusing him, but now he is the abuser. Now he is the abuser. He understands the power of being the abuser because the abuser is in control, right? When we saw the whole Liv Morgan Dom dynamic and how he turned to Liv and was like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. I don't want nothing to do with you. And then seeing kind of him angle himself towards Liv after he helped Liv, it showed, and seeing Liv's reaction, Liv was surprised. This wasn't like the master plan. Liv was legitimately surprised. But this puts Dominic Mysterio in a position where, as a character, he's in control. He played Liv like a fiddle. There was an instance in which Liv was the manipulator in trying to make Dominic a pawn to gain revenge over Rhea, and then Dominic flipped it and made her a pawn to get one over on Rhea Ripley. And I think that shows the maturation in his character and the growth in his character. And I think that it also kind of plays on this idea that in a relationship, you can be so invested in disliking a person that you become what you hated in that person to the next person. And I think that that's just, I thought that that was such a genius move how they kind of played into that and played on that. Now, when it comes to the Damian Priest face turn, it was so good because I feel like one of the benefits of these turns is that both sides, you can sympathize with either side, right? Finn Balor was like, yo, you said you didn't need the Judgment Day. You cost me my title last year. And I got my lick back on you.
Mm.
Which is true. That's a fact. But at the same time, we were so invested in this group that the moment that there was a disruption in the chemistry of it, we villainized the person who was the disruptor, who was Finn Balor, right? So now, even though Finn has all the reasons for you to like him as a fan, you dislike him because he disrupted something that you were comfortable with. I thought that that was genius. And the fact that
Mm.
Damian and Rhea still have this kind of connection, I think is super poetic because number one, they were the original Judgment Day members. So now it feels like they could either create something else or they can just be like, listen, all we need is us because we were the ones that created this. And I think it's a genius way to kind of like create these legitimate faces and these legitimate hills. And I also think that the Judgment Day did its job. The Judgment Day was able to elevate everyone. Rhea became a crossover star, right? Damian Priest became a main eventer. Dominic Mysterio matured and grew as a character, and Finn Balor became a main eventer again because
Hmm.
he involved himself in something that had a championship implication. So I think that the Judgment Day implosion was necessary and it elevated everyone. And if this continues to go in the direction that it's going in, it has the potential to elevate a JD McDonough and a Dominic Mysterio even more. So I'm eager to see what happens with that. But y'all let us know about how y'all feel about this Judgment Day implosion and these face turns and these heel turns. But we're going to be moving on. Because speaking of turns and twists, it looks like Bobby Lashley is no longer with the WWE. His contract expired. Obviously, there have been a lot of rumors regarding his relationship creatively to Triple H and just kind of how, things were not ideal for him. He tried to pitch this idea of the Hurt Business coming back and it was shut down. Um, so I wanted to kind of get your take on what's next for Bobby Lashley. Where do you think that Bobby Lashley goes now? Since WWE is he's not looking to renew a contract, so maybe he be going elsewhere. Who do you feel like? Where do you feel like he's going to?
It's kind of hard. I don't want to say I dislike Bobby Lashley. I don't mind Bobby Lashley, but um, by himself on his own, I don't find him very interesting. He's interesting when he has someone to lean on or a group to lean on. So, and then he also has a style of wrestling that I don't think goes just with any promotion. Even though he is big and he has a great look and he is athletic. So I'm just like, okay, like where would you put him that I feel like he deserves to go? Because you've been around the business for a long time. Your name does hold a lot of value. Do I even see you like going to an AEW? Like what would they have you do there? Who would they pair you with? I don't know why I thought Stokely immediately. I have not watched in a minute. Stokely's probably guarding someone else. But if you like a mouthpiece that speaks really well for him to make him interesting, then I could still see him like in a world championship, angle. But I can't right off the top of my head name a whole bunch of Bobby Lashley matches I want to see. I mean, I could probably see him versus Hobbs, I guess. That'd be a very interesting powerhouse match. Hmm. I don't know. But who would you like to see him up against, or where do you think he would go? Because I don't know what you would do to him with him.
I have to get it. Have to get used to this muting thing. I will put him in TNA. I think that number one, TNA is gaining a lot of momentum. Obviously, Nick Nemeth being their new world champion. I also feel like he can go against Nemeth. I can feel like he can go against Bobby Lashley. I mean, not Bobby Lashley. He can go against Moose because they have history, and Moose is kind of like a top guy there now. Um, Ideally, I would actually try to say AEW, but the reality is they don't know what they're doing with the big guys. Like it's just Wardlow is a star. We haven't seen him on TV. Will Hobbs is a star. We haven't seen him on TV. So it's like, why would you give them Bobby Lashley? So I just feel like based off of how they treat the other big guys, I don't think that AEW would be the place for him. But I feel like he can bounce between Impact, TNA, and New Japan. Um, I could see him kind of going back and forth and also still doing like some like MMA stuff, like in like the octagon. But yeah, the funny part about it is that I feel like this is all rooted in creative booking and the ability to have creative control over your character. I feel like we can potentially see the best version of Bobby Lashley in this upcoming run if he can control his character. I feel like sometimes in WWE, there is no value attached to blackness unless it's associated with the rebellion, the sass, and the attitude. And because of that, it's like sometimes people can't see where a character can be valuable if they didn't fit into a certain box of blackness. But I feel like if he were to have creative control over his character, I think that we can see him flourish because we all love the Hurt Business. If we can get shades or undertones of that elsewhere, I think that we would be in business. I think that a lot of special things can happen. So that's just how I personally feel about Bobby. But let us know how you feel about this Bobby Lashley renaissance and where do you see him going next. But we're gonna be moving on. So, speaking of changes, it feels like or it seems like NXT is about to hit the road. They are set to hit the road in October. They actually signed a new deal with CW for a media rights deal, which is much more than whatever money they're getting on USA. And they're going to be hitting the road. They announced their first two shows. One is going to be in Chicago, and CM Punk will be there, and then the next show will be in St. Louis, and Randy Orton will be there.
Oh.
So I wanted to know how you felt about NXT hitting the road once they hit the CW. Do you think it's going to be a success? Do you think it won't be?
Oh yeah, it definitely has to be a success. This is the best I think NXT has looked since it was in the 1.0 era. And you definitely could like treat it as if it is a third brand, like legitimately treat it like it's a third brand. And I do love the idea that they are going to a common wrestling city that is Chicago, and that they're presenting it with two veterans. Like I think that's the smartest way to go about it, especially if you want to like get some numbers in the stadiums. But that's awesome. I'm pretty sure all of the talent that's on board during this time period are excited for the shift. Um, just I love everything they've been doing with NXT, especially with like how much they were testing and playing around with it through the pandemic up until now. Like all the changes that they made to it how can I put it? I feel like what I like about NXT now is that not only does it feel like it's a third brand, or third yeah, it is a third brand. I like the idea that it's a third brand and all that, but it feels like it's actually part of the entire show. I like how they're presenting all the characters over there. It feels like to me, God damn, I'm losing my point. What point was I trying to make? I had a point and I lost the point because I was babbling. You want to take that over, Jordan, because you keep talking and then you're muted again.
I keep my bad. No, I was saying you were saying that it was better than the 1.0 era, and
No,
that they've been testing with a lot of different things, and then you kind of like straight off a little bit, but
yeah. No. In general, I'm happy what's happening with them. It's the best it's ever looked. I'm just happy for everyone that's over there. Does that mean, I guess, are they going to mix it up enough to where they have more main roster people over there and they stop treating it like it's developmental? I
yeah,
guess is what I was trying to get at before I just had a brain fart and skewed off to the left.
I think they do. I think they do because if you are hitting the road, that means that you now have to bring people into seats. So I do expect to see maybe some underutilized talent from the main roster that have a little bit of a buzz um, hit NXT. I also
Mhm.
feel like the road in itself is just a different experience for wrestlers. And so I think that you need vets there to kind of help them navigate what it's like to be on the road. Like, not just necessarily hitting different markets, but like, you know, going from city to city and making towns and like having to book hotels and cars. And this is a new experience for a lot of them because you think they train and perform in the same place every single time, every single week. It's Performance
Mhm.
Center is where they have NXT. Performance Center is where they train. So I think that they need to be able to have people that are going to help them with that road experience, because it can be a little bit of an adjustment, right? To people who are not used to it, right? Even with nutrition, right? To be able to stay in shape on the road is an experience within itself. And I think that there's definitely going to be some people who will want to be alongside them while that
Mm.
happens. As it pertains to Punk being in Chicago and Orton being in St. Louis, obviously these are two great moves. They're legends, right? Like, Punk is a legend in Chicago. Randy Orton is just a legend in general, right? These are two icons and two pillars of WWE. And I think that this is very, very indicative of the worth that they have to the company. The fact that they can just call them up. Ooh, we need to talk about this because y'all owe Phil an apology, because when he came in, all I heard was that he's a cancer, that he's toxic, that he's not good backstage, and he's been nothing but good. He's been nothing but good backstage. He's been nothing but good backstage. He's had a great rapport. He's helped out with younger talent. You don't hear anything bad from anybody, including the people that don't like him. Like the fact that he was able to be in a ring with Seth Rollins and a ring with Drew McIntyre, who apparently have real life heat with him, and we don't hear any leaks. We don't hear any stories. We don't hear anything. I think that we need to owe CM Punk an apology,
But
regardless of
who's
how.
to say that being in that rat hole crack house that is AEW, that he just didn't feel humbled?
I mean, no, I don't think it was a matter of him feeling humble. We talked about, like, remember, I think his complaint and his whole grievance of AEW was like, yo, these people are kids. Like, these people don't know how to act, they don't know how to carry themselves, they don't know how to move as wrestlers. And then as soon as he leaves, all of a sudden, Britt Baker getting fined and suspended, MJF's punching holes through the wall, Max Caster is on Twitter talking about we don't want Shelton Benjamin here, who's a legend, right? It's like all of the things that Punk was complaining about AEW started to really come to the surface the moment that he left the company. So I'm not saying Punk was right. I'm just saying Punk was right. But back to the main point, which was NXT, I feel like they are in a great position. I feel like they can do really, really well on the road. I want to see what venues they are going to be holding they're going to be holding these events at, because I feel like that's going to determine how the events look. I really hope that they're not doing arenas, not because I don't think that they can do them, but I just think that the show is going to look better if it's in a much intimate environment, because it's going to look packed, it's going to look crowded, and I think it's going to look really, really good on TV. Nevertheless, though, I'm really, really happy that NXT is in this position where they're hitting the road again. I need to see them take their PLEs on the road as well. So I hope that they, obviously, like, we're out of the takeover era, right? We're out of the takeover era, unfortunately, but they're still doing like stuff like Heat Wave and Great American Bash and Halloween Havoc. I would love to see stuff like that get like a PLE treatment. So I want to know how y'all feel though about NXT hitting the road. Let us know in the comments below, but we're gonna be moving on. So on the heels of her winning the WWE World Women's Championship, Liv Morgan has signed with Paradigm Talent Agency. And obviously, this is for things like movies, television shows, commercials. But I don't think that it's a coincidence that upon her, arguably her best run in WWE, that she is partnering up with an organization that is going to extend her reach into Hollywood. I want to know, how do you feel about Liv getting signed to a talent agency? And do you think it's because of where she is right now in her career?
She's also another person who I would never have guessed would have landed. I mean, not because she of her look, she's gorgeous. I think everyone knows she's gorgeous. But shoot, I was in that pool of people, whether it was last year or the year before that. Whenever she was going up against Becky Lynch, and it felt like she was just, I cringed every time she was at the mic. Um, it's interesting because this is the most confident I've seen her and the most convincing I've seen her
Mm-hmm.
on camera. It kind of reminds me of when Rhea Ripley went away and we were talking about how she's not that good on the mic. She needs to work on her delivery. She went, came back, had acting classes, and she's so aware. She's so aware of every little detail. It adds to everything she's been doing with her character with the whole sex appeal thing.
Yeah.
The same thing is there with Liv Morgan. Inspire her voice being her voice, she makes it all work and she doesn't move as robotic. So there's been so much development and maturity there. And then on top of that, like I said, she's gorgeous. I could definitely see her be someone that's marketable in in more ways than one. So yeah, I would have to contribute to where she's been at in her career.
Mm.
She has a great look. She has the look. She's part of the hottest woman storyline going on currently, at least to me, with WWE. So, why not? Like, do I expect to see her in a movie? Maybe a smaller role. I don't really see her handling a gigantic role, but I could see her doing little roles, but more so, um, probably more utilized for commercials. She gives me very much a commercial look, So if she could do that, I could definitely see her flourishing in that and modeling.
Mm.
What do you think?
I think that it's not a coincidence that during arguably the hottest time in her career or around the hottest time in her career that she's getting signed to a talent agency. I believe that number one, WWE is a star factory from the men's perspective and from the women's perspective. It's a bunch of great looking guys and girls that know how to get on a mic and speak, that know how to perform, that have a certain sex appeal to them. Once again, like this is not like Liv. We can go down the list of people in this organization that are considered to have sex appeal, whether we're talking about Roman Reigns, whether we're talking about Damian Priest, whether we're talking about Rhea Ripley, whether we're talking about Jade or Bianca or Liv or Rhea, right? WWE is filled with great looking people, in shape people who can publicly perform, who can speak on the mic. Those things alone will take you very, very far, right? And so it's no surprise to me that Liv Morgan is in the position that she's in and getting signed to a talent agency at this stage of her career. When we look at John Cena and we look at Roman Reigns and the fact that they were able to pivot into Hollywood, and wrestling does not pay like the most amount of money considering the amount of time that you have to devote to it in order to get said money. And the fact that like a John Cena can do a voiceover commercial and he's getting millions of dollars, whereas in WWE, in order to get those millions of dollars, you got to be on the road 300 days a year, right? You save a lot of time when you start to pivot into other industries that don't consume much of your time that you can devote to other things. So this is not a surprise to me. I think that Liv Morgan is a great talent. I think she just found her groove. And that takes a while, right? Like the same kind of things that we said about Liv Morgan, we said about Mandy Rose before she found Toxic Attraction. We said about Roman Reigns before he stepped into where he is now. We said about John Cena when he was going through that period where WWE was presenting him as a face and he wasn't getting that same treatment in return. Sometimes people just got to find their thing. And I feel like Liv Morgan has found her thing, and it's part of what's making her one of the hottest acts in WWE. And I believe that this is one of the reasons as to why she can be a part of a talent agency. If you sign into an agency, it's because the agency thinks that they can get work on your behalf, which means that you're marketable and you're good at what you do. So I'm not surprised there. But yeah, let me know how y'all feel about Liv getting signed to Paradigm Talent Agency. Let us know in the comments below. But that is the end of our show. Thank y'all so much for tuning in once again. Mo, it is great to have you back, my good old friend. And we will see you guys next week. La, 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 la.